8:30 plus. Call the meeting to order. Chris?
Here.
Joe?
Here.
Bob? Here. Got a minutes of the Excise board meeting from the 19th.
Move we approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 4, discussion possible action regarding establishing E911 personal service account number 1201-2-3600-1110.
Move approved. Approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 5, approve, disapprove monthly appropriations.
If I can get my fingers working.
My fingers don't work like they used to. I don't have the feel, to separate pages.
Yeah.
I drop stuff when I'm trying to do that now. Well, I have to sometimes lick my fingers just to get some traction. Oh
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
Without saliva, you don't thumb your papers. Perfect.
How did that gross production tax, Chris, go to 0?
Well, probably somebody didn't get reported, I guess. Because there is been production.
There is production, yeah.
Yeah.
I keep getting my checks. They're not like they once were, but I still get them every month.
Well, they were a little better than the last.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're a little better, so that's, your little paper snaky.
Well, I'm not promising it's right. It says 75,000.
I don't know, all I know is, I know that there's a pump station east of my house, and it had five
Still
pumps on it, now it's got one. They moved them out.
gross production tax level.
Federal Rescue Plan Act, what?
That's ARPA.
ARPA.
So that's the interest that we're making off of that money. Which it'll all have to be spent by December 31st. And so no more interest after that, right?
What are we using the Homeland Security grant for?
He used it for Starlink.
Oh,
So, it's an emergency management grant that he was able to get, so that's what he used it for. And now we're getting reimbursed. We pay for it. and
well,
we're
because,
reimbursed.
that's just, Starlink's just rent, so that'll go away. After soil or something.
Well, he was getting everything set up for it. Starlink.
My brother went to Starlink.
He's getting all the equipment and stuff for it.
about it other than Elon's?
Well, it's fax. And you can get it or you can't get anything else.
You can get it anywhere.
Faster than fiber
That.
optic?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, you can get it anywhere.
You can get it anywhere, like North of town, Jason Gasser couldn't get any other, could get nothing. And
But he can
could
get started.
And my brother was having fits at his house.
Uh-huh.
I'm on can opener, I can go fine.
I like to know.
But,
I had it when I lived in Hartman.
it works good for me.
Yeah.
I paid a little bit, it costs a little more, Charlotte's a little more expensive, but it's cool. And then like Jason Gasper, they got 5 boys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you
And
get
they're
that many
all
kids on there.
He said,
And they
it's
don't,
not a problem.
yeah, it's not, you can
It is
handle it.
absolutely not a problem.
Thank you. Yeah, they say it's, but you can have as many people on there as you want, and it's not gonna be an issue. So that's nice.
I move approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Aye.
Acknowledgement of the transfer of appropriation from Highway D1 CIRD to Highway D1 Personal Services in the amount of $15,201.94 and D2 CIRD to D2 Personal Services in the amount of $15,201.95.
Yep.
So acknowledged. Number 7, acknowledgement of the transfer of appropriation from general government sale tax to rural fire sales tax in the amount of $25,000 to finish out the year. So acknowledged. Acknowledgement of the transfer of appropriations from general government M&O to county clerk personal services in the amount of $300 to finish out the year.
$300.
Yeah, I must have misfigured when we did those raises, I must have misfigured it, because I figured it a while back, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have enough to pay. I'm gonna pay everybody by $300, so, yeah, I misfigured.
Number 9, acknowledgement of the transfer of appropriations from D2 Highway M&O to lease rental in the amount of $269,366.45 to pay off the lease. Number 10, is there any new business? New business shall be given matter not known about, or which could not have been foreseen prior to the time of the posting.
I move we adjourn then.
How about, yeah.
And
adjourn
reconvene as the equalization board.
Yeah, get that board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Call this,
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Call the meeting to order of the Woods County Equalization Board. Joe?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
Bob? Here. Number 14, approved, disapproved.
Move we approve.
Okay. I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 15, approve, disapprove the following for Freeport exemption. Value-added products. You want me to just read them down the line or one at a time?
Probably need to do
Yeah,
it.
well, we get it done.
Yeah,
Approve each one of them, I imagine.
One at a time.
Yeah.
Value-added products applied for a report, and the exemption amount is $114,644, and they had all their paperwork, and looks like it's good.
Move approve.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Approved. Approve, disapprove the following for Freeport exemption. Baker Petrol Line.
Baker Petrolite also applied, and theirs is $124,917 would be the Freeport amount that they're applying for the exemption on.
Okay.
So,
Who are they and where are they? Okay.
they do oil field equipment. It's one that we've had for several years, and They're south of town.
Yeah, south.
They're south, okay.
Mhm.
All right. Move approved. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Value is like, Baker's like Value, they've been on here for a few
Right,
years.
right. All of these, well, the last couple haven't been as long, but all of these have been for years.
Number 17. Approve, disapprove the following for Freeport exemption, Cargill Incorporated.
This one's Cargill, and Cargill is always much larger than the others. What they're applying for, the Freeport amount is $2,059,785.
They ship lots of salt out of state. They
Yeah,
do. Move approved.
yeah, their numbers
Salt's
are
pretty
pretty
valuable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I second that motion. Emotion. There's a song in there somewhere. All in favor?
Aye.
Approve, disapprove the following for Freeport exemption, Black Hill Service Company.
Okay, these next two are oil and gas, and we've never approved because of the Monica's Supreme Court.
The storage.
Yeah, it's gas and storage, and so
Oh.
we've never, so they've been applying the last couple of years, but they're the same two that have been applying, and we haven't approved them, so.
Move disapprove.
Well,
Well, let's hear what you got there.
this is Black Hills Service Company, and they are requesting $10,886 to do a Freeport. But according to all of the paperwork, it's oil and gas and storage, and the lawsuit said that gas and storage comes out of Oklahoma. So that's why it's never been done.
Where's the oil? Is it out here, these tanks?
This one is North Hopeton Storage Facility.
Is that what you call these out here?
Oh, these out here, out east of town, no, that is Glass Mountain. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I don't know where the oil storage is. I know the gas field.
Yeah,
The
this
whole
is-
gas field is
yeah,
one
this
thing,
is-
but oil.
No, this is
doesn't
gas.
Gas.
It's gas and storage.
matter. Okay, so the name oil doesn't refer to the product they're storing, it's just the gas.
Right,
Okay, all right, clarification.
So this has been argued before the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Well, we'll not say the precedent.
No, we've never approved this. This is
I
a
second
review.
your motion.
Yeah, okay.
All in favor?
I'm in favor. Not approved.
Not approved.
So, you made the motion, you second? Is that what
He
it's?
made a motion, he seconded,
You second?
yeah, I made it. A little early, but it's okay.
Okay, I'm just approving it.
We did discussion.
Okay, approve, disapprove the following for Freeport exemption, Spire, Missouri, Inc.
and it's another one that is gas and storage, and they're applying for $324,182 towards the Freeport exemption.
Yeah, they say they own the gas, that company. Yeah. I'm against it. I move disapprove. Yeah.
I second that, disapprove. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I'm not sure who did, I thought you did the
Here's the
first
last one,
one.
bing, bing, bing. Yeah,
Oh, okay, I thought he did first.
just like the other one.
Number 20, any new business?
Yeah, we need to look at the evaluation. You got that electronically available to us today.
Evaluation.
Yeah.
No, sir.
Well, I think in March, we said time is important.
Exactly.
Everybody gets on the first day, get it done. So everybody had March 15th deadline to present their,
And March 15th fell on a Saturday, so they have until the 17th
Okay.
to have it postmarked or into us.
And then
Without a penalty.
in April, we are supposed to be able to review those assessments electronically online.
You can't review the assessments because that's all confidential.
No. The listing, the assessment,
Oh,
the-
just the values.
yeah, each one of them. We've got the right to look at that because we have the obligation to either raise those or determine what you've done.
You can only adjust it if it is an appeal,
No,
protest.
that's not,
That's what the book says.
no.
I just went to the
I
class.
can read it from you right here. No, that's not what it says. We have the responsibility to review those assessments. Now, my question is, where are they?
We're still working on them.
We're meeting in April, and we said last time, beginning April 1, you get that in front of us right now.
If I don't have the information, I can't get it in front of you.
Well, you
Nothing
do
is
have.
finished.
You do it. What did they assess their value March the 15th or 17th? What was that assessment?
We're
rate?
still working on it.
How can you be doing that? You had it April or March
No, I
17.
didn't, not all of them.
Well, then they're
I'm still
delinquent.
getting them in the mail, as a matter of fact.
Okay, now wait a minute. That's not according to the rules. I'm looking at our time level here.
Exactly. That's what,
April 1, you should have the assessments for us to review. April 1.
no, according to the book, we have until the fourth Monday in April to have something.
Show me that
Okay.
report. What are you referring to there?
Yeah, it's just finding that right.
And if they're postmarked,
Yeah.
even if they come in today, if they're postmarked before April 17th, she has to take them. I mean, they're not late, even though we're in April.
You know,
And our-
that's not your problem. March 17, that better be on its way.
I
It's
know,
your
that's
hands.
what I'm saying, if it's postmarked though, she has to accept them, if they have that postmark. 'Cause that's not her,
And
that's
some people
not,
have their own postmark machine.
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
And I've said that for years,
Yeah,
and our
me too.
legislators
That
are
throws our
understanding
time
that.
level completely out of whack. If we can't review
Mhm.
that in beginning in the 1st of April, in order to determine whether the assessed value is correct or not, that pushes our timetable back to a 30-day notice in one hearing, a 15-day notice on another, and we're in the middle of July.
Exactly.
Now, we're not doing that this year. We are not doing that.
Okay, of course I'm not finding it because we're looking for it. Here we go. It is on page 113.
Okay,
You have
you
to
got
be
a
able to
different
pay.
book than what I got, so.
No, I don't. I went to the class just recently, so it
Same
should be,
class?
it should be the
You're
same
on
book.
113? I don't have that in my book.
No, chapter 1, page 13.
Okay.
There you go. Middle of the
In that,
page.
in that second paragraph at the very bottom, the county assessor is required to submit these applications to the County Board of Equalization by the fourth Monday in April. I called on it yesterday to ask them about it, and I was told they're going to get back with me, but I was told that nobody does that because the values are not correct, everything's still in the works, and values are going to be changing. That's the reason that,
Okay,
It's
that
not-
refers to application for homestead exemption. It does not refer to
Okay.
anything else.
that's the wrong one. There's
Chapter
another
4,
one.
Rebecca, looking.
Do what?
I think there was a spot in chapter 4.
Yeah.
440.
Okay.
Which one are you looking at now?
Okay, chapter 4, 48. That paragraph, the assessment roll must be total balance delivered to the County Board of Equalization on or before the fourth Monday in April, prior to November 1st. It's usually the first part of, it's October, November before we ever do an assessment roll, because that's when we have final values.
Because it changes.
Yeah, it's gonna keep changing. I have a stack of protests and things we need to look at on my desk right now.
You have
Okay, when you-
splits.
I
You
have
all
tons of
kinds
splits.
When you
yeah.
get a informal protest of hearing,
Mhm.
you have to forward that to us.
Not an informal.
Yeah, an informal, yes, right, Joe?
Not unless they
That
appeal
was
to the
in
board.
our class before.
Not unless they
No,
appeal
but-
to the board.
Yeah,
Cindy,
because we have to have time to prepare
That's
for,
That's if they
Formal
appeal to
protest.
the board.
we have to have time to prepare for
Right.
that formal protest by way of subpoena their documents. Now,
When they
period.
file the formal, then she has to provide the information, but not until the formal is,
Because I don't have anything.
You don't have an informal protest?
the informal doesn't involve the
Okay,
board.
we need to know who those are and what are they protesting, because they know what they sent you.
They haven't sent me anything yet.
Well, how did they protest if they didn't send it to you?
I've got some phone calls I need to make to get back with people. It does if it's gonna change the value.
When they sent you, on March the 17th, when they sent you, this is what we have personal property on, and that's what we're talking about.
A lot of the ones I have on my desk are not personal property, they're real estate.
Well, that's not what we're talking about, real
It's
estate.
all the same stuff,
No.
because if they want to file a formal, they can.
You've already sent out your real estate people. You've
Right,
already
that's-
sent out probably a lot of your personal property if they gave you the assessment rate, right?
That's
You've
what
already
we're
sent
working
those
on,
out.
yes.
Well, you've already sent those out, right?
We send them a copy, yes, of what we think the value should be.
We're
Well,
just
what
getting
did
ready
they
to do
send you?
arbitrary stuff.
They told you what they had as personal property.
They
That's
send-
what we need to look at. And that's what our budget people are wanting to look at right now,
It's gonna change.
not later.
It
They
isn't
want to
gonna,
look at that right now.
it isn't gonna do any good to look at it for the budget if the values are going to change.
That goes into the appeal process.
And the first one is.
What did they say their assessment rate was? And that's due March 17th. There is no delay on that. I mean, if they postmark thing, here we are a month later. The postal people don't take a month to deliver.
I've got something happening. I got one back one year that's over a year old. It's a problem, it's a big problem. I got one the other day in a manila envelope when I opened it, and it happened to be oil and gas. And I opened it, and it was in another manila envelope, and it had a label on it to us, and it was sent certified, and it was postmarked March 2nd, I believe, 2nd or 3rd. And then it had the label on it where the post office sent it back, undeliverable as address, no forwarding address. We have a post office box. The address was correct. I don't know why it was sent
Oh,
back.
I
I
get
didn't
that
get it
bill.
till a month later. I got it in April.
I get that.
It's terrible.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
We can't put up with that.
No, we
You
shouldn't
run
do
the
that.
clock from the last week in March, and then you got 30 days, 14 days.
Right,
But we can't do
No,
anything about
That,
it.
that puts us up in the middle of July.
exactly. That's
And
when
we
they
can't-
changed the
We can't do
laws.
that. Once they file a protest, before the board,
Mhm,
we can't talk to you.
mhm.
Prior to that time, we can hammer you pretty hard. and that's what I'm doing. You can't put up with this delay, because you put us behind.
The post office.
I don't know how I'm supposed to.
Do we get Brian over here and let him know what's going
No.
on and somebody communicate with the postmaster?
This is a
Because
problem.
it's
Statewide.
prevalent, it
It's
sounds
not
This
just
is a
our
problem
county
state,
either.
this is a problem
I just was
statewide.
at a meeting last week and this was brought up, and some of the counties, she's got boxes full of stuff because of
Have
the
you
post office.
consulted with the state examiner,
No,
the local tax commission? Those are the people you consult with to answer your problem.
right, I've talked with the
State
tax
auditor
commission,
and
they don't have
examiner.
anything.
Those people
Mhm.
should say, hey, this is how you correct that problem. We can't put up with this a month delay here, when we know their deadline was March 17th. This mailing thing is a bunch of baloney. We're not gonna do that. That pushes us up to being of no effect.
I
We
think,
can't do that.
Chris, I think the only way you're gonna get that change, get a change law.
Well, that's not,
That's
the
when it
question
happened.
is,
Whenever they changed the laws to be able for them to have 3 different days to do an informal protest, and then 3 different days to do a formal protest, and they had to be on different weeks, that's what's pushed everything back. And that happened
and that
in like
puts us in
14,
the middle of
15.
July.
Right. Because they get 10 days in between them.
When did it happen?
That's been
14, I think it went into effect in 2015.
I think so
Yep.
too.
You're
That's
10
when
years
they-
ago.
Yeah, that's when.
And that's
Yeah,
why,
I've been here.
that's why we can't get it done by the 31st of May. And they changed part of the statutes when they changed the law, but they don't change the rest of the statutes, that need to go along with it. Like part of these saying that you have to have this done by a certain day. They change a law over here, but they don't change this one to
Right.
fix the dates to make it
Exactly.
work.
That's what happens in our office too.
Well, check with the tax commission
Mm-hmm.
and the state auditor and inspector, because this problem has got to be resolved.
I talked with the tax commission the other day, and all I was told was, well, you just have to go by the postmark. I
And I know
don't
people,
get much of it.
here's the point,
It's crazy.
who puts the postmark on there?
Well, some people have their own deal.
Yeah,
They can.
yeah,
Mhm.
and can you get by with that?
Yeah, you can.
obvious.
Now, if that were the case, I had a post, and I wanted to delay my income tax thing till June, I can postmark it in June,
You
and,
most certainly,
Yeah.
you know,
you most certainly could.
I don't
So
know.
it probably depends on how the law is written for the entity that is accepting whatever you're mailing to.
Now, I have been told at the post office that most, or I've been told at ours, that if they catch it, they will let whoever sent that know that they have to put a current date on it. Because then it makes the post office look like they are delaying when it's not them. They don't want to be blamed for that. But how many of them are catching that? How many of them are they
How
just
many
pushing it on through and they're not looking? You know, it gets dumped into a big old bin and it's ran through a machine
I
and
can't have
it's
the
not
post
getting
office
caught.
right now. I had a cousin moved to a place in Texas, and I sent her a Christmas card that I got back in May. Mailed it in December.
Yeah.
Said undeliverable, she doesn't live here. I sent her up and I called her. She's been there a year. And it goes to Houston, and some Houston thing down there take it back. I'll mail it. I'll mail a post office box out of Wheeler Brothers check, and I'll get it back undelivered.
Yeah, it's
It's a wreck. The
ridiculous.
post office right now is a wreck.
It is. It's
And
ridiculous.
those dates, I
well,
don't have a
we're
correct.
dealing with time here,
Yep.
you know.
The only
And
thing
you can't push us to the middle of July and then expect us to be able to discover the truth in their,
That's why they
You-
got
you
all
can't
this
do that.
changed.
It's
now,
not
The
as
oil and gas,
you know,
there's laws changed.
we have to have time, if they're gonna protest, we have to have time to subpoena
See,
them.
we need to,
We gotta know what we
the
need.
answer here, Chris, is to get a hold of, legislators and get them to come and sit down with us And I tried that, kid to come to a meeting, I can't get to do it.
Well, there's another remedy for this, is because the minute you get a protest, or you're in from a hearing, or we see that there is a pending protest coming, we can subpoena anything right then before they even protest. If you're gonna protest, this is what we want. And we've gotta have time to do that.
It's
So-
probably happened in other counties, and that's probably why the oil and gas have gotten these laws changed to make it so difficult that nobody has time to do that anymore. I mean, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, those lawyers are smart. They figured this stuff
Well,
out.
we don't have, the excise court doesn't have a lawyer that's
Right.
Well, we've got the ability to, on the excise part, to pay for that. To pay for that, by way of the commissioner and the excise board, to warrant monies to pay for lawyers. The question is, that's been raised before, who hired your oil and gas attorneys last year? Was it you?
Yes.
Okay. Who paid for them? The county?
she hires in the county paper.
My budget have.
Okay, if the county pays for it, then it passes to us to approve it, the commissioners as well as us. That's in the book.
To approve the funding.
Yeah, we approve it and we approve the payment of it. It's the county, it's not the individual assessor or the county clerk. It goes before the commissioners to approve as well. I mean, that's the way that's written. And that's for your protection. Because what this amounts to is we're protecting the assessor from the accusation that the assessor may have favorites. Because our basic job, our whole existence is fair and equitable treatment of the taxpayer. We've got to have the information in front of us to make that work, which it starts with that assessment. And if we don't get the assessment in the middle of March, then this timetable kills us. We can't do that.
Right?
I'm going to suggest you find out, who do you anticipate being protesting?
I hope no one. But
Well,
I don't
now, in reality, who's going to protest? How are you
She
going
didn't
to?
quite know.
There's no-
Yeah.
I would say,
Well,
if you go by
our book
history,
says-
the ones that have in the past would be my guess.
Our book says, beginning in March, we can determine who might protest and who might be a backlog for us being able to. That's in March, we can do that.
Yeah, but don't you have to have a protest first?
Yes.
You got.
The protest has to be filed with the board in order for you to see stuff and subpoena stuff.
No.
Yes,
If
it
we
says that in the
believe,
book.
if the board believes that there's going to be a large amount of protests, we can start our process earlier, back in March. That's in the record.
Because you don't have any right to see
But
that
they want-
information until there's a
And you're
protest.
saying that, well, we don't think anybody's going, well, under the circumstances of last year, we think there could be a lot of protest. And that's why we're pushing this element of time right up to the front of the table here.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is I know that they're going to wait till their 30th day
Yeah.
before they send anything in. And until that happens, I won't know.
In other words, you haven't got their assessment row yet. Is that what you're telling me? You haven't got all of these companies, people, that mail it in or whatever, you haven't got that assessment in, so you can't.
That's
you-
what we are working on.
Yeah. Well, working on means you haven't got it in, right?
They have, most of them, I still have some that haven't sent us anything.
Well, the ones that have sent it in should be available to us to review.
If they didn't file a protest, you can't look at their stuff.
No, that's not what the book says. The book says we have the authority to review your electronic assessments beginning April 1. How many do you have beginning April 1? How many?
I have no idea.
Well, how are we going to review them if you don't have an idea?
You can't review them unless it is an appeal.
No. It says April 1. Electronically, we can review your assessments.
No, it's the fourth Monday in April. It says that I should have an assessment roll.
And the assessment roll is only gonna provide a name and a value. You're not gonna
No.
see any detail, because
Where-
that's confidential.
There's two functions that can raise the evaluation. That's you, and that's the Equalization Board.
If there's an appeal.
No, it doesn't say if there's an appeal. It doesn't say that.
Yes, Chris.
Look at that.
No, it does not.
I think it's like handout too.
It says we have, page 14.
And some of that in the book, they had Attorney General opinions, and they said the Attorney General opinion overrides what's in the book.
The assessment roll shall be available electronically to the County Board of Equalization while the board is in session, and we're in session right now. What have you got to show us?
I don't have anything today.
That's verse 4, that's page 14. That's what we're asking. What have you got to show us today?
I don't have anything for you today.
Why not? We're in
Because
session.
this says I have until the fourth Monday in April to come up with something for you,
That's
even
the
though it's
people-
not
That's the
right.
people that haven't,
Even
you're
though-
referring to the people that haven't turned in their assessment yet. We want to know what have you got turned in right now.
It's referring to everything. And this is an AG's opinion, and it says that the board has the power to raise or lower the valuation of any taxpayer's property. And then it says to raise or lower to, nope, this isn't it. But it has to be something that is an appeal before you can do that.
You're looking
the
on
county
page
board of-
25.
Do what?
She's looking at the
I'm looking at an AG's opinion.
AG's opinion.
The County Board of Equalization may not adjust appraisals of property unless the adjustment is made in response to a protest filed as prescribed by law. That's the AG's opinion.
And that is,
You should have it.
okay, what page is it on?
It's not, it's one that was a handout, that they handed out. At the top, it says Oklahoma Tax Commission Bulletin Number 9773.
And what page is it on?
It doesn't have it.
It doesn't have,
It's not in our book?
it's one they handed out to go with everything in our book.
Let me see it. Wait.
And I can make you a copy if you'd like.
Raise the value of real property, that's the key. When the county assessor has not increased the valuation and the protest is not filed. We're not talking about real property, we're talking about personal
It's
property
the
here.
same.
It's all done the same.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
He doesn't address that in the order. It says real property, and there's no way of including real and personal property in the same deal. Can't be done. There's a difference between the two.
Correct. But they're all treated the same.
No, real property, you send that out right off the bat. You don't have to have someone give you a assessment of personal property before you send out real property assessments.
Right, because our office works, does it, goes
Yeah,
out and
You don't
does
have,
it.
they're separate.
Mhm.
This deals with real property. It has nothing to do with personal.
But real property and personal property are all assessed and valued and looked at and follow the same laws and the same rules.
All the
No, they're
same
not.
laws.
And that's not what he's addressing here. Who
You
advised
should have
on
that because it came with the class.
Make me this document.
Okay.
That's the problem. Real property and personal property is not the same, nor is it can be the same. Because nobody can change real property.
We can't do anything about this.
Now, my question here is, maybe go a little further. When you dismissed or changed the evaluation of the board last year, what authority did you cite to do that?
I visited with the lawyers and the lawsuit was against me, not the county.
Well, did the lawyers advise you you could do that?
We discussed it, yes.
And they advised you that you could, because when you do tax roll corrections, it says very clearly that you cannot do that. Only by mistake, clerical mistake or something, can you adjust the decision of the board. Only.
And that's what tax roll correction, but then when it goes on to court,
Well, this never
it's the
went to
next
court,
stop.
did it?
Next, or when they file a lawsuit, when they actually
Yeah, when they
go
file
hire
a
the
lawsuit,
lawyers.
it's against the assessor, not against the equalization board. Somebody had to, in order to dismiss that case, somebody had to do a declaratory judgment to the court. Who did that?
Without pulling the papers, I would say it was the attorneys.
They didn't have the right to do that. The one who, did you have the district attorney do a declaratory judgment against the board's decision?
No.
Okay. Our question here is, you got the wrong attorney that's giving you that advice. That is consistent with everybody who knows what's going on here. You didn't have the power to write down, that wasn't within your authority to write down the board's decision on Target's business. Not that year, but if you go back to 2000, 2021, 22, the board made a decision based on evidence, and the only way that could be overturned is for there to be a declaratory judgment filed against the board that says you didn't know what you didn't have the information, correct information to make the assessment.
Okay, so we did this last equalization board meeting, we went through the same discussion. Went over it.
Yeah.
So we
Well,
can't-
the question is, you're not getting good advice with your
Yeah, we
quote
need
attorneys,
a different lawyer, but that didn't.
because you put yourself in jeopardy here when you went beyond the court system and reduced the evaluation and settled that case, however they did it. We're looking out here to protect you. When the board makes a decision, that's it. It goes to court. And the attorneys can advise you to step aside and write it down. And this process is not followed step by step by step. We got a problem.
Well, I think some of this is probably something that we just need to bring up with an attorney.
He needs to be, well.
Do I need to have him show up?
Were you in the informal at the MOTEC? Were you out there?
Yes. I was at every one of those meetings.
Okay, you know what they told us? They said, well, we hired a professional here. We hired a professional, and when they deposed him, He said, well, I'm not in that field, I can't testify to income status. Now, there is a big problem here on income.
Everything is not always based on income. They look at all three approaches.
You're right, but their approach on income was, they didn't make any money, right?
That's what they always say.
That's what they said, we didn't make
They
it.
always say that.
That's not what the book says. It says the potential to make money, not looking at the past, but the potential for making money. When we had that session out there, that so-called expert that your attorneys hired said, well, when they questioned me, are you a petroleum engineer? I said, no, I'm not. I said, well, you're not qualified to answer any questions. Your attorneys failed because there are hundreds of cases of expert testimony given to the Corporation Commission trial examiner that says, yeah, the reserves are out there. That's why we give you increased densities, or you can respace. Those are on record. And your attorney sat there and said, well, we have to hire somebody to say there's no income to possibilities out there in the field. That's already been decided. That's already been a record. Your attorneys were asleep. And that's why I'm asking you, did they advise you about something that got you in trouble here?
Yes, I
Yeah,
talked
they
with
did.
the attorneys.
They did. And if someone didn't do a declaratory judgment that removed that case from the district court, citing the fact that, somebody didn't know what they were doing, which would have been back on the board. And we didn't have the information. When Jerry came before us and said, yeah, I can prove 130 million.
Yeah, he told us he would agree with that.
Yeah, he said, I can do that. You agreed with that. And we bought your assessment based upon what you said and what Jerry said, but not on evidence, because they did not present the evidence.
And
Target did
like I
not
said
present.
there, yeah, I think we can agree with this.
Yeah, Target did not present the evidence. We based ours on
Smarter
yours
operators than we
and
are.
on Jerry's.
But that's water on the bridge. We need.
I know, but the fact that they advised her to write it down from 130 to 116, and that's not including 2000, 2001, 2002. That's not including those years. Because the board made very clear in those decisions back then, they didn't give us the information. And according to the book, if you don't give us the information, you're done. They should have accepted those applications. But when you made that settlement, you went back 2000, 2001, 2002, and settled on 2003. So you altered $505,400,000 worth of testimony. And I'm saying, and the other people saying, well, where did you get the authority to do that? That's the question. And if the attorney said, well, you can do it, well then, they're the ones who advised you incorrectly. Can't do that.
Okay.
If you went to the DA down here and he advised you that,
Chris, we agree with you, but we're just going over and over. And
I know, but
I want to pinpoint some action here, and it sounds like the attorneys that we need to talk about that.
that's exactly right.
Would you agree with that?
I'm not there yet. We don't have anything.
No, I mean,
Well,
based
in
on
past,
what we're talking about,
They
what
put you in
occurred.
trouble
It
here.
would depend on who's out there. I mean,
Well, this should have gone to court.
No, I mean, we're talking about changing attorneys.
Are you saying depending on what attorneys are out there?
and
Oh, well,
what we have coming
at
up.
this
Yeah, I don't
point-
know. At this point, I don't have anything except for Redline that's still
Hey, I'm not-
hanging out
But you
there.
don't have
I'm not-
any, you don't have an attorney on.
I'm not picking on you at all, I'm just saying it sounds like there's been identifications and attorneys need to replace, and instead of saying depends on what's out there, we need to be making this laser focused on getting a guy that represents us professionally and with the knowledge. So let's talk that.
Yeah.
I mean, what we want to know is, do you have an attorney on retainer now?
Yes, the one we've been using.
Okay, but
And
you've
I
already
have a
paid
case
to
that
use,
they're working on, yes.
so we are hung with him for this year.
Yeah.
Well, is there a contract?
Yes.
Is it at our wish, at our,
No, have you got a contract with them?
Yes.
through?
Let's go back to the motel thing.
I've got an auditor waiting in my office
Okay,
to go
well,
out and check
yeah,
properties, so
Let's go back to the motel thing. Did you know about their trying that case to the motels? Did you know about that before they went to the trial? Did they question you or did they use you as a witness?
no, we didn't go to trial.
On the motel?
Right.
Well, how did you reverse the board's decision on that?
They gave us the information
Yeah.
that we requested when the court subpoenaed it. And so then we were able to come up with a better value.
You do the talking here. Or
We
come up here so we can
requested the information. The courts
The
made
court
them
made them,
give us the information, and that's how we could come up with a different value.
the court subpoenaed the information, so then we were able to do the income approach. Like they wanted, and that's how it got settled.
Okay, the income approach.
Yes, on hotels, which is what most everybody does, on
All
hotels.
of the bigger
Okay.
towns all do income approach on their hotels.
All right, here's the problem. What income? Who defines the income? The court?
No, we get their CoStar reports and things like that.
No. The income approach is based upon how many rooms that you have available to rent, not how much money you made. And the reason why the court made the decision on that was because of the COVID deal
The court
and
didn't make a
nobody's traveling. And that was a force majeure. But my question is, that was done 4 or 5 years ago. We're not under force majeure anymore. That does not stand. How do you appraise the motels today? Based on their rooms or based on the income that they make?
It's all put
it's a
in
whole
together.
big
It's a whole, whole formula.
Can't do that.
Yes, you can.
No.
Yes,
You know,
it's
it
in the
says
book. I've
you
been
can't-
through the class.
It says, yeah, so have I.
No,
No,
in
the income approach class.
I've
Yeah,
been
so
through the
have I.
income class.
I've been there too. You can't base it on tax,
Okay.
which is their income rate. You have to
No.
base it on, yeah, that's what the book says.
Potential gross income, less their expenses, and you take that times,
That's in the past. You can't base it on past. You can only base income on what the projected income of the year that you're doing. And if you had 100 rooms, you had 100 rooms.
right, but they don't rent all 100 rooms. So
Every
there's a
That's-
loss.
That's why
and
they
there's
built 100
expenses,
rooms.
But they don't rent all 100
This is
rooms.
Alva. It's not full every night.
Well, that's not what the code says.
We went through and we got their stuff, we got their CoStar reports. We came up, we sat down with the instructors of the income classes, and we worked up an income approach that was fair for our hotels. And that is what we based the value on.
That's based on their revenue, it's not based on their expenses. That they
You
have,
have to deduct
that they have,
expenses.
their expenses that they invested in building the motel.
Okay, you're talking cost approach as far as building materials.
And you
you're
know-
talking
yeah.
income, and then you've got,
You know there are the 3 methods, and
yes.
you have to look at all 3 of
And
them.
we did, we had them on it cost approach. They wanted on it income
Well,
approach. That's
Chris, I
what
gotta
their
go.
protest was.
Okay, I
I'm
understand.
sorry. Sorry.
I suggest we recess our equalization till you are able to get us the review of the assessment rates, assessment that people have turned in. We recess it.
We're not gonna adjourn this meeting?
No, I would not adjourn it. I would recess it
Okay.
till we get the information we need
We could have
to
a special
determine the
meeting.
assessment.
What?
We can have a special meeting and that way we could still adjourn. Recess means we gotta come back to this and we don't have any other items on this meeting.
Well, this is the problem we gotta solve.
'Cause
And
this
I'm
is
not
all
willing
under
to
new
go any
business,
further
and
without
that's
solving
not
the
gonna
problem
be
of
new
time.
business when we come back.
Oh, when you come back, won't be any business.
The next time we come back, we want to see that assessment roll.
Okay, it won't be correct, but
Well, that's not the issue. That's not the issue, whether it's correct or not. We want to see it.
Okay.
We want to see what they said their,
Here's your paper.
their assessments were. We should be able to see everything that you got in today.
I think we can recess.
everything's not gonna be rolled over
During
and,
recess or reconvene.
Okay.
Just because somebody hasn't turned it in,
Usually
Does
that's like a 15-minute
hold up
recess or 30 minutes. not like
99% of the
days
people that have,
that I know of. I mean.
that
maybe
assessment
some,
roll
I've
should
never
be
done it.
available to us.
Oh, I took that stupid class and I don't remember
I
it.
don't remember it.
And that's a public document. That's not a private document.
I think you can.
I'm not trying to hide it.
No,
It's just-
I'm saying that that's public information. I can go to Stevens County or Cleveland County and call it up on their website, and their assessments are online. Is yours online?
I
I
think we
just
have,
don't know that any of
I
this.
think
We
we
don't
have,
have no
We don't
website.
have a
I think we have to recess.
We don't have the manpower to have a website for our office.
Okay, well then it's gotta be physically available to us, rather
It's
than
on- it's-
electronically,
It's on
right?
a, they said have it on a
I said it's on you
PDF that
guys'
you could
phones,
look
I
at
don't care.
See, we ought to be right now looking at what your assessments have that you've got in. We ought to be able to do that.
We gotta figure out how we can legally do this, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not sure we can recess. Recess is like, take a 15-minute recess, I just went through that stinking class. And we can't reconvene. I think what we have to do is adjourn, and then we have to,
We can have a special meeting.
we'd have a special meeting to do this.
Well,
Before our
as long as we are able to meet as a board and review,
You can do it.
We can do that, we can do
Done
that.
lots of special meetings.
that's what we've got to
I'll
do.
tell you what,
That starts our process right there, our review of your assessments. That starts our process.
I'm sorry.
That
guys.
starts the public's
Okay,
process.
Joe, I'm putting you as the one that adjourned this.
I move we adjourn. Hello.
I'm not going to second that for a little
Yes.
while. The idea here is we have to preserve our timetable. And we cannot let someone interfere with our ability to make good decisions.
That's right.
We can't do that. And we discussed this for the last year or so. And we started out in March, the minutes that we just got through having here, that we approved, we started in March saying we want to make sure everybody is on board the very first day and it's possible to get information to us. So we'll call a special meeting then and review what you have. And we don't have to have your full, everybody postmark and whatever. If they didn't send it in, and if they didn't get it in time, that's their problem. The postal thing can be addressed. But that is a manipulation against us. And we're not going to buy it anymore. I'll second, provided we come back on a special meeting.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.